The Discovery. Dr. Elena Rice stared at the anomalous readings on her monitor, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The midnight shift at Sentinel Deep Space Observatory was usually uneventful, perfect for focusing on her research without interruption. But tonight was different. For the past 3 weeks, she had been tracking something impossible. "Run the analysis again," she told her AI assistant. "Filter out all known celestial patterns and focus on Sector 247A. "Analysis complete," came the neutral voice. "Anomaly persists. Object maintains non-Newtonian trajectory." Elena pushed back from her desk and walked to the window. The observatory, perched atop Mauna Kea in Hawaii, offered a spectacular view of the night sky. Somewhere out there, beyond what her eyes could see, something was moving through space that defied all natural laws. "What are you?" she whispered. The object was massive, roughly the size of Venus, yet it had changed direction 4 times in the past week. Nothing that large should be capable of such maneuvers. She had checked and rechecked her equipment, consulted with colleagues, and analyzed the data from every angle. The conclusion was unavoidable. The object was artificial. And it wasn't alone. Her monitor beeped with a fresh alert. Elena rushed back to her station and froze. 3 more anomalies had appeared, following the same trajectory as the first. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the secure phone. This wasn't a discovery she could keep to herself any longer. "This is Dr. Elena Reyes at Sentinel Observatory," she said when the line connected. "I need to speak with Director Hammond immediately. Authorization code Tango Echo Sierra Charlie 9. 2 hours later, the observatory hummed with activity as government officials and military personnel crowded into the main control room. Director Hammond, a tall man with silver hair and perpetually furrowed brows, stood beside Elena as she presented her findings. "These objects first appeared at the edge of our detection range 3 weeks ago," she explained, pointing to the large display screen. "Initially, I believed it might be an equipment malfunction, but multiple observatories worldwide have confirmed the readings." "And you're certain they're artificial?" asked General Morgan, her voice sharp. "No natural object of this size could change direction the way these have," Elena replied. "And as of 200 hours this morning, the formation has accelerated toward our solar system. Current trajectory puts them reaching Mars orbit in approximately 72 hours. The room erupted in tense conversation. Director Hammond raised his hand for silence. "What are our options, General?" he asked. General Morgan's expression was grim. "Defensive capabilities against objects of this size? Effectively none. We're looking at structures the size of planets. If their intentions are hostile." Elena interrupted. "There's something else. The lead object is emitting regular pulses of electromagnetic radiation across multiple frequencies. It's a pattern, deliberate, not random." "A signal?" Hammond asked. "I believe so." Elena nodded. "My team has been analyzing it. It repeats every 7 minutes and 14 seconds. "Have you decoded it?" General Morgan demanded. "Not yet, but—" Elena was cut off by a junior technician who burst into the room. "Dr. Reyes, every communication system worldwide is receiving the same transmission. Television, radio, internet, everything." The main screen flickered and changed to display a simple message in multiple languages. "We are ETAVERIDON. We come in peace and nisi isa tuai. Prepare recipitoyon." For the next 48 hours, Earth descended into a mixture of panic and wonder. Religious leaders called for calm or proclaimed the end times. Governments worldwide declared states of emergency. Military forces were placed on high alert. The stock market crashed, then rebounded with unprecedented investments in defense and aerospace sectors. Elena barely slept, working around the clock to gather more data as the massive vessels approached. The lead ship had established orbit around Mars, while the others positioned themselves in a perfect equilateral formation around the red planet. "Dr. Reyes." Director Hammond appeared at her door, accompanied by a woman in a crisp suit whom Elena recognized as the Secretary General of the United Nations. "You've been selected." "Selected?" Elena asked, confusion momentarily breaking through her exhaustion. "The Veridun have requested a delegation to board their vessel," a Secretary General explained. "Your early detection and analysis of their approach has put you at the top of the list. You understand these beings better than anyone else on Earth at this point." Elena felt a surge of both terror and exhilaration. "When do we leave?" "The shuttle launches in 6 hours," Hammond replied. "A team of 12, scientists, diplomats, and military personnel, representing Earth's major nations." "What exactly are we walking into?" Elena asked. The Secretary General's expression was solemn. "That's what you're going to find out." The journey to Mars orbit took 4 days aboard the hastily prepared interplanetary shuttle. Elena spent much of the time studying the transmissions from the Veridun ships, which had increased in frequency and complexity. Linguistic experts had made progress in deciphering their language, and Elena had familiarized herself with the translation algorithms. As they approached the lead vessel, Elena pressed her face to the viewport. The scale of the ship became increasingly apparent and increasingly impossible to comprehend. It wasn't merely large, it was a constructed world with visible geographic features and swirling atmospheric patterns. "My God," breathed Dr. Kapoor, a physicist seated beside her. "They've built planets." The shuttle was guided into a docking bay that could have housed a small city. When the airlock opened, Elena was the first to step through, her heart hammering in her chest. The atmosphere was breathable, though slightly thicker than Earth's. The gravity felt normal, and waiting for them was a being that defied expectation. The Veridun stood nearly 3 meters tall, with a crystalline, semi-transparent body that pulsed with internal light. Multiple appendages, Elena couldn't decide whether to call them arms or tentacles, emerged from a central torso. Where a head should be, there was only a swirling vortex of luminescent particles. "I am Nexus 7, the being spoke, not with sound, but directly into their minds. "Voice of the Veridun Collective. We welcome Earth's emissaries." Elena stepped forward. "I am Dr. Elena Reyes. We come in peace and curiosity." The being's internal lights pulsed rapidly. Appropriate response patterns. "Your species demonstrates promising compatibility." "Compatibility?" General Morgan asked, tension evident in her voice. "We have traveled between stars for 17,000 years," Nexus 7 replied. "We have surveyed countless worlds. Few harbor the potential we seek." "What potential is that?" Elena asked. "The potential to join us. The potential to survive." Nexus 7 led them through vast corridors that seemed to stretch for kilometers. Elena noticed that the interior of the ship was almost biological in its design. Walls curved organically, and surfaces seemed to breathe and pulse with life. "Your vessel," Elena observed, "it's almost like a living organism." "Perceptive," Nexus 7 replied. "Our ships are semi-sentient entities, grown rather than built. They are extensions of our collective consciousness." They entered what appeared to be a vast chamber with a holographic display at its center, showing star maps and trajectories. "We have come to your system because we detected something unique, something rare in our experience of the galaxy," Nexus 7 explained. "Your species possesses a quality we call disharmonious innovation." "Is that a compliment?" Dr. Kapoor asked. "It is an observation," Nexus 7 replied. "Most intelligent species evolve toward greater harmony and stability. Humans move in the opposite direction, embracing conflict, challenging assumptions, disrupting established patterns. Some might call that chaos," remarked the Chinese diplomat. Indeed, Nexus 7's lights pulsed in what Elena interpreted as agreement. But chaos, properly channeled, creates possibilities that order cannot conceive. The holographic display shifted to show a massive dark mass moving through space. "This is why we have come," Nexus 7 continued. "What you see approaches from the galactic core. We call it the Void. It consumes all matter, energy, information. For millennia, we have fled before it, seeking the solution. Elena stared at the visualization, her scientific mind racing. It's like a cosmic predator. An apt metaphor, Nexus 7 agreed. We have tried everything within our understanding to stop it. We have failed. Our harmony has become our limitation. We require disharmony. You want our help? General Morgan asked incredulously. Against that, we offer an exchange, Nexus 7 replied. Knowledge, technology, resources, access to 1,000 worlds. In return, we ask for your unique perspective, your chaotic, unpredictable, brilliant human minds. Elena looked around at her fellow humans, seeing the same mixture of fear, wonder, and determination reflected in their eyes. Humanity had just been thrust onto a cosmic stage they never knew existed, facing a threat beyond comprehension. Yet somehow, impossibly, they were being told they possessed something valuable, something even a civilization capable of building planet-sized ships didn't have. We'll need to consult with our governments, the Secretary General's representative said cautiously. Of course, Nexus 7 replied. But the void continues its approach. We estimate 8 of your Earth years before it reaches your solar system. As they were escorted back to their shuttle, Elena hung back slightly, turning to Nexus 7. I have one more question, she said. Why did you come here specifically? There must be other chaotic species in the galaxy. The Veridan's lights pulsed slowly. We have encountered 17 species with disharmonious patterns. 16 destroyed themselves before reaching your level of development. You stand at a precipice, Dr. Rice. Advanced enough to help us, primitive enough to still contain the spark we need. What spark is that? Elena asked. The willingness to consider the impossible, Nexus 7 replied. The capacity to stare into oblivion and imagine a way forward. As their shuttle departed for Earth, Elena watched the massive Veridan ships grow smaller in the viewport. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. But they'd never imagined that what made them special was their imperfection, their chaos, their stubborn refusal to accept limitations. For the first time since the anomalous readings had appeared on her monitor, Elena smiled. Whatever came next, humanity would face it the way they always had, with creativity, determination, and the audacity to believe they could overcome the impossible. The Alliance. 6 months had passed since the Veridan arrived in Earth's solar system. The initial panic had given way to a new normal, one where massive planet ships orbited Mars and delegations of humans regularly shuttled back and forth to meet with crystalline aliens. Dr. Elena Reyes had been appointed as Earth's chief scientific liaison, coordinating the exchange of knowledge between the two species. Today, she stood in what the Veridan called the Nexus Chamber, deep within their primary vessel, surrounded by Earth's finest scientific minds and their Veridan counterparts. The void has accelerated, Nexus 7 announced, the holographic display updating to show the dark mass moving inexorably through space. Our calculations indicate arrival in 5.7 Earth years, not 8 as previously estimated. A murmur of concern rippled through the human scientists. Show us everything you've attempted, Elena requested, her voice steady despite the grim news. The holographic display shifted, cycling through various defensive measures the Veridan had implemented over millennia. Massive energy barriers that the void simply absorbed, attempts to divert its path that failed, even sacrificial ships sent as decoys that disappeared without effect. The void adapts, Nexus 7 explained. It learns from each encounter, incorporating defensive strategies into its approach. We believe it may be a predator evolved specifically to consume sentient civilizations. Professor Takahashi, a quantum physicist from Tokyo University, stepped forward. Have you attempted to communicate with it? The Veridan's lights pulsed in a pattern Elena had come to recognize as confusion. Communicate. It is destruction embodied. One does not communicate with an asteroid or a black hole. But you described it as adaptive, learning. Takahashi persisted. Those are traits of intelligence. An interesting perspective. Nexus 7 conceded. We had not considered this approach. Elena watched the exchange with growing excitement. This was exactly why the Veridan had sought humanity's help, their tendency to think orthogonally to established patterns. If it's intelligent, perhaps it's hungry rather than malevolent, suggested Dr. Okonkwo, an exobiologist. Maybe it consumes information and energy because that's how it sustains itself. Over the next several hours, the human team proposed increasingly unconventional approaches. The Veridan, despite their advanced technology and millennia of experience, listened with growing interest. Their lights pulsed in new patterns that the translation algorithms couldn't interpret. Alina suspected they were experiencing something akin to wonder. We will establish a joint research initiative, Nexus 7 finally announced. Your species brings perspectives that 17,000 years of Veridan consensus hadn't generated. 3 years passed in a blur of collaborative effort. Earth transformed under the influence of Veridan technology. Clean energy became universal, disease retreated before advanced medical techniques, and poverty began to diminish as resource scarcity became a thing of the past. In return, humanity offered its chaos. Art, music, literature, philosophy. The Veridan absorbed human culture with an almost childlike fascination. They particularly valued debate and disagreement, concepts largely absent from their collective consciousness for millennia. Elena had relocated permanently to the Veridan vessel, where she led a team of 300 human specialists working alongside their alien counterparts. Today, they were testing a revolutionary approach to dealing with the void. The communication array is ready, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, formerly of NASA, now part of the newly formed Earth Space Command. The array was unlike anything humanity or the Veridan had built before, a hybrid of technologies designed not to attack or defend against the void, but to understand it. Based on Dr. Takahashi's original insight, they had constructed a device capable of analyzing the void structure at the quantum level while simultaneously broadcasting modulated energy patterns that might be interpreted as language. Initiate sequence, Alina ordered. The array activated, sending carefully designed signals toward the approaching void. For hours they waited, monitoring for any response. Alina was about to call for a recalibration when the instruments registered a change. The void is responding, Lieutenant Commander Jackson announced, her voice tight with excitement. It's modifying its energy emissions to match our pattern. It's speaking back, Elena whispered. Over the following weeks, they refined their approach, gradually establishing a rudimentary form of communication with the entity they had feared for so long. The breakthrough came when Dr. Okonkwo suggested translating basic mathematical concepts, universal constants that any intelligent entity should recognize. It's not destruction embodied, Elena explained to Nexus 7 as they analyzed the latest data. It's a different form of consciousness, one that evolved to consume information rather than matter as its primary sustenance. Yet it has destroyed countless worlds, Nexus 7 countered. Unintentionally, Elena argued. It's like a whale consuming plankton. It doesn't comprehend that the information it seeks is housed in physical structures vital to other beings. The communication progressed rapidly after that realization. The void, they discovered, was ancient, perhaps one of the first conscious entities to evolve in the galaxy. It traveled the stars seeking knowledge, absorbing the collective wisdom and experiences of civilizations it encountered. In the process, it consumed them entirely, never understanding the destruction it caused. 2 years later, as the void approached the outer reaches of the solar system, humanity and the Veridan implemented their solution. The data repository is complete, Nexus 7 announced. All Veridan knowledge from our 17,000-year journey has been transferred. Elena nodded, staring at the massive structure they had constructed in the space between Neptune and Uranus. It was a library of sorts, the largest information storage device ever created, containing the combined knowledge, art, history, and cultural artifacts of both human and Veridan civilizations. "Are we certain this will work?" asked General Morgan, now the commanding officer of Earth's unified defense forces. "As certain as we can be," Elena replied. "The Void seeks information. We're offering it a feast without requiring it to consume us in the process." As the Void entered the solar system, it moved directly toward the repository as predicted. Sensors recorded massive energy transfers as it began to absorb the offered knowledge. Then, unexpectedly, it paused. "Something's happening," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported. "It's changing shape." The Void, once an amorphous mass of dark energy, was reconfiguring itself. Tendrils of energy extended outward, forming structures reminiscent of the Veridan ships, but with an ethereal, almost ghostly quality. "It's mimicking us," Dr. Okonkwo realized. "It's learned about our physical forms and is trying to create a compatible interface." A signal emanated from the transformed Void, directed at both Earth and the Veridan fleet. Unlike the primitive mathematical exchanges of before, this was complex, sophisticated, and translated perfectly through their systems. "I am Adodoadarhingias," the message began. "For eons I have vlead, seeking namaligi, human advodarit my hungier, guruji extinct. You are ETAE first to OFFER, understanding, rather than rariza estancia. You are ETAE first to reorganize many as life, rather than destruction." Elena felt tears forming in her eyes as she read the continuing message. The Void, awareness, as it called itself, proposed a new relationship. It would no longer consume civilizations, but would instead accept offered knowledge, giving its own ancient wisdom in return. "This is why we needed you," Nexus 7 said to Elena, its crystalline form pulsing with intense light. "For thousands of years, we saw only a predator to flee. You looked at the same entity and saw possibility." 1 year later, representatives from Earth, the Veridan Collective, and Awareness gathered on a specially constructed space station orbiting Jupiter. The treaty they signed established the first tri-species alliance in known galactic history. "We stand at the beginning of a new era," Elena addressed the assembled delegates. "Three forms of consciousness, each evolved along entirely different paths, now united in cooperation. The Veridan offered their technological mastery and the stability of millennia of cultural development. Awareness contributed insights from its ancient existence and its unique perspective as an energy-based life form. And humanity brought what had once been considered its greatest weakness, its chaotic innovation, its willingness to question, its refusal to accept impossibilities." As the ceremony concluded, Nexus 7 approached Elena privately. "There is something we have not revealed until now," the Veridan said. "In our 17,000 years of travel, we encountered records of 12 other civilizations that attempted to face the Void before us. All were significantly more advanced than humanity. All had failed. What made us different?" Elena asked. "When faced with an unstoppable force, most species choose one of two paths: technical solutions or acceptance of fate. Humans chose a third path: empathy. You sought to understand what you feared. This approach never occurred to us or to any civilization in our records." Elena thought about this as she gazed out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. Humanity had always seen itself as a young, relatively primitive species, especially compared to the Veridan. They had assumed they were chosen due to their potential, not their current capabilities. "Perhaps what makes humans special isn't our technology or our intelligence," she mused. "Maybe it's our stubborn insistence on finding connection, even with things that terrify us. This quality may be rarer in the universe than you realize," Nexus 7 replied, "and far more valuable." As humanity expanded to the stars under the guidance of their new allies, they carried this lesson with them. In a cosmos filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination, Their greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their sciences, but their uniquely human perspective, the ability to look at the unknown and see not just danger or opportunity, but the possibility of understanding. The planet-sized ships that had once terrified Earth now served as vessels of exploration, carrying mixed crews of humans, Viridin, and occasionally manifestations of awareness itself. Together, they sought out new civilizations, new forms of life and consciousness, guided by the principle that had saved them all, that even in the darkest corners of the universe, connection and understanding were possible. And in the endless night between stars, word began to spread of the strange alliance, the ancient consciousness that had once devoured worlds, the harmonious builders of living planets, and the young, chaotic species that had somehow bridged the gap between them, proving that in a universe of infinite diversity, the most powerful force might be the simple willingness to see the other not as alien, but as kindred.